Oh, such a clutch off-season pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
Visit Blinds.com now for up to 45% off site-wide and free professional installation. Rules and restrictions apply.
Hello everyone, it's Gav, and before we begin, I want to let you know that this episode of How Are the Podcast is sponsored by LiveScoreBet, a proud principal partner of Sunderland AFC. And if you're looking to get started, LiveScoreBet have got a cracking welcome offer for new customers. All you have to do is bet £10 on sports and you get £30 in free bets. It's as simple as that. So, if you're ready to join the action, make sure you're doing it with LiveScoreBet, the home of total betting. This offer is available to new members only, and you need to put £10 or more on a bet on sports within 14 days of opening your account. Free bets are valid for 7 days, £20 to use on Sportsbook, £10 on Bet Builder. T's and C's and deposit exclusions apply. Bet responsibly, over 18s only. Hello everyone and welcome to How Are the Podcast, sponsored by LiveScoreBet. It's Gav and you join us for today's matchday preview as we look ahead to Sunderland's trip to take on Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League. A big game for us because we're playing a team who are woefully out of form at home. We're doing all right. It's a big opportunity to go to a brand new ground for Sunderland and take on a team who traditionally you would fear in the Premier League. But as you might have heard when I spoke to Ricky from Last Word on Spurs yesterday, they're not in a good place at the minute, and we might be playing them at a good time. So, joining me today to chat all about this, first and foremost, we've got Ant Watterson with us. Hello, mate.
Hello, Happy New Year, Gav. Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, mate. Yes. And as we've just been discussing there, I've got snow covering my garden, and you're in deepest, darkest Durham, and it's not even snowing yet. So, by the time you actually come to hear this, listeners, Ant might be snowed, and it'll reach him by this point, and you'll not be able to leave the house.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully it'll be, we have escaped it so far, so fingers crossed we can continue to escape it. It is very cold, I will say that.
Oh, no, I'm sick of it. Honest, I'm sick of it. Do you know when you just need a holiday? That's me right now. Like, I need to be abroad. Anyways, but I'd probably miss the match and I'd regret it, so maybe not. Also with us is Andrew Smithson. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Yes, same as you. I'm looking out at a beautiful scene of lovely thick snow, but it's not very practical. So whilst it looks nice, I'm not best pleased with it.
I always thought, like, where you live, because you live near the beach, don't you? I always thought snow doesn't lie down there, just melts as soon as the air hits it. Is that just an old wives' tale?
No. 9 times out of 10, we avoid it. So if it's thick at our house, that tells you how bad it is.
Aye.
And to be honest, I'm surprised at Ant, because my understanding, like you say, might have been an old wives' tale. I always thought inner county Durham always got it first. So yeah, Mother Nature's playing tricks with us all this morning.
Yeah. Anyways, that's enough about the weather. Let's talk about Sunderland again, of course. It's been a nice couple of days, hasn't it, Andrew? The fallout from the Man City game felt like we won, actually. We were receiving so much praise, the team and the players and stuff. It's been fantastic. And I think that really does set us up nicely for this one. Because as I mentioned in my intro there, Tottenham are not playing particularly well at the minute. And if anyone hasn't heard that chat with Ricky that I put out yesterday, I urge you to go and listen to it, because, I mean, I actually, before me and Ricky hit record, he was doing his podcast and they do it live. And so that was 4 Tottenham fans talking. And honestly, you'd think they were like bottom of the table. They're absolutely on the floor confidence-wise. And I think we've got to take advantage of that. But it's nice, isn't it, that we can go into a game of such magnitude, going away to Tottenham, which is still a very, very tough game. And we're the ones with confidence, and they're the ones probably fearing us a little bit. Like he was saying to me, I think we'll probably play for a point. And I'm like, God, I can't believe to hear that, but good, isn't it?
It's brilliant. It's almost too good to be true, isn't it? Yeah, when you start hearing opposition fans looking at Sunderland and and thinking, oh, they're going to be a tough game. We'll be happy if we get away with a draw. There's that little voice in the back of your head thinking, are they just setting us up for a fall here? But yeah, Tottenham fans will be gutted that we got such a positive result against Man City, because you're right. Everybody's bouncing. Everybody's on a high. They were probably hoping that we'd be coming into this game on the back of like a 2 or 3-0 beat-in with our heads down, but not a bit of it. Everybody connected with Sunderland at the moment seems to be feeling positive, and that's in stark contrast to the Spurs lot. So yeah, to think that an established team like them, I mean, they won a trophy last season, to think that they looking on at Sunderland and feeling almost envious of our position and our form is real testament to how well we've done.
Oh, it absolutely is, isn't it? And we've just had such a brilliant season. I know everybody listening to this knows that, but this is the first time we've met Tottenham this season. Again, that's a bit strange, isn't it? Because we've already played Man City twice. We haven't played Tottenham yet. But still, this is the first time we've met them. And you look at their squad, and they've got some really good players, even with the players they've got missing. I know they're missing Xavi Simons, for instance, and I think Bentancur is missing as well. I might be wrong. But they're missing a handful of players. Pap Sarr's at the AFCON. So they're a little bit depleted. Solanke's injured up front. But even still, they've still got, some top players to call upon, but it's just not clicking. And that's been a leveler for Sunderland this season, hasn't it? Because we have come up against some really good teams this season. But if we want it more than they do, it kind of levels the playing field to a degree. And actually, in some cases, it tips the balance in our favour. And that's what I'm hoping for in this one. If Tottenham are low on confidence, if they're missing bodies, regardless of who they've got available, if we are just a bit more up for it than they are, we could really come into this game with a lot of positivity, and we could take it to them.
It's quite weird, isn't it? That obviously we're going up against the side who are historical in the Premier League, aren't they? They're always there or thereabouts, aren't they? They've won trophies and everything like that. I would actually class ourselves as favourites tomorrow, as much as it's like it's weird. You know what I mean? It's weird that we're saying that we're going away to team in London. We always do quite well in London, don't we? Sunderland, we are doing really well down there. It's a side of, as you said,
am I right in thinking we're unbeaten in the capital this season?
I think so. Yeah, I think it goes back to last year, doesn't it?
Andrew's shaking his head.
Up until recently, lads, that was right, but we lost at Fulham.
Oh, we did.
Oh, of course, man.
That's right.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
blank that one from your memory, Andrew.
But like I say, as you've just said, I fancy us going down there. The way we're set up to frustrate teams, like what we did against City, it really does, because their fans, as you said, really, they haven't taken to Thomas Frank at all, have they?
No.
He's got a different style of football to what they used to. Like he doesn't play this free-flowing attack and stuff, which to be fair, didn't particularly work for them that much last season under Postecoglou, even though they did win the European Cup, but they finished fourth bottom in the league. So as much as they were used to, this free-flowing football stuff, it hasn't quite happened at all for them this year. And I've watched them a couple of times this season. And I think it was Chelsea that were playing, and they were horrendous, really, really poor. So if we can go down there, grab an early goal, and do what we do, it could turn quite ugly for them. It's a one for me where I'm thinking we've got a really good chance to go down there and really do something. And something else about they are struggling at home. They've already got 8 points, I think, at home this season. The pitch is quite a leveler because the stadium's a beautiful stadium, but it hasn't. I don't think they've found their kind of soul yet in that stadium.
Yeah.
Because teams are going there because it's a bit like Wembley. It's a beautiful open stadium. It's just everything that they've built is fantastic, and it's kind of a level playing field for both sides because it doesn't feel like a home stadium to them yet.
Yeah, well, we've got, just to compare the two records, Sunderland have got 2 points per game at home. Tottenham have got 0.89 points per game at home. They're really struggling when it comes to the home form. 17th in the table, in the home table. The only teams below them are the ones in the bottom three, I think. Burnley, West Ham, Wolves. So they are not a good home team, and I don't. It is interesting that, Andrew, isn't it? Like, because we've turned the Stadium Light into a fortress. We're unbeaten at home. Like, we've used our stadium to our advantage. Whereas, as Ant says there, Spurs haven't been in that ground particularly long, and you do wonder, don't you, whether the fans are really taken to it, and it's like it feels like home when you walk into it. I mean, it was Michael Dunn, who does our podcast with us. He said the other day to us that he's actually been to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium a few times as a neutral, and he said you just don't get that feeling that it's like it's Tottenham Stadium yet. And maybe that's the case. I know you watch West Ham as well. West Ham are the same, aren't they, in their ground? Sometimes when these teams move to a new home, it takes them a while to really grow into it and, set the table and put the sofas out and the telly on, and that's where they live, kind of thing. You know what I mean? I think whilst this is our first visit to that ground, we're going there, and we're almost going there as if it's like a level playing field. It's such a weird feeling that to go into an away game where you don't necessarily feel like you're the away team.
It does feel slightly off, and I'm having to fight, like I said, that little voice in the back of my mind, that little Sunderland fan who's been through all of this time and time again. I am having to fight myself and say, no, it is okay to be reasonably confident. Yeah, Spurs, the ground does look fantastic. I've not been fortunate enough to go to it yet in person, but it looks fantastic on the TV. I wonder perhaps if one of the reasons is because it also hosts a lot of American football. I don't know if it's laid out enough like a traditional football stadium to help get atmosphere. And also, the other thing is, any ground is always going to be improved in terms of atmosphere if you're getting results and performances. And they're just not getting that. There doesn't seem to be any unity, whereas people can't wait to go to the Stadium of Light. Everybody's behind the head coach. Everybody can see the team are grafting. So it's an occasion, and you want to be there. And our ground has had a few improvements of late, so you get that feeling of tender love and care around the place, and you feel like, yeah, this is where I want to be on a Saturday. There's none of that happening at Tottenham. And as a squad, whilst we might struggle to get our heads around that change in mindset, I think the squad will be okay with the idea that they're expected to do well in this game. They'll not be panicking about who is and who isn't favourites. They'll be switched on enough, and they'll be able to sense those negative feelings amongst the support and amongst the home team, and hopefully capitalise on it.
Yeah, we'll come on to team selection, all that after the break, and when we get there. But just quickly before we do, I mean, are you worried at all about the frequency of the games and the fact that it might be stretching the squad a bit? Because obviously we just played a few days ago against Man City. We play again today against Tottenham. Then we'll play another game in a few days against Brentford. Then we've got Everton. I was telling you lads off air, before that, of the players who are away at AFCON, we're probably likely to get a few back in time to play Everton if we're lucky. So, we're basically running with the squad we've got right now. Brian Broby went off with a muscle strain. Hopefully he's okay. It was just a precaution, apparently. But still, it kind of highlights that point, doesn't it? That we're running with a squad of 14, 15, really, aren't we? And we're asking a lot of them to play this many games. So whilst I'm really confident, should we be a little bit wary, given just how physically taxing that Man City game was?
I think with the amount of running a lot of them did on New Year's Day, because I can't remember what bloody day it was. New Year's Day against City, at the end of the game, the last 10 minutes or so, Trey Hume looked absolutely buggered, didn't he? He looked really, really tired. Enzo Lefebvre was running on empty as well. And as you said, Broby picked up an injury. Isidore went down after the full-time whistle as well with clutching his ribs. So I don't know if he's picked something up as well. So, Yeah, I mean, it is slightly worrying. I mean, I think, they'll be genuinely fit, won't they? But, that game will have taken a lot out of us. But Spurs played the same day, and, so it's kind of reduced that as much. I'm not sure if they run as much, because I don't think they do run as much as what we do generally, hence why, we're higher than them in the league. But I still think, yeah, I mean, we can't afford too many injuries at the minute, can we? Because we've got a few who are out. We've got a few who are still at AFCON. But apparently Ballard's got a chance, hasn't he? So it could give us an opportunity to move Trudeau back into the middle, and give Hume a rest, or put Hume wherever, and put Ballard in and move McNeely along, or go back to a 3. I don't know, but I know he had an outside chance, didn't he? I think Regis was saying before the City game, so that's not too bad. But yeah, but the good thing is about them, especially, like some Mayende, on the right, we've got Munderhook coming on the left or whatever. They are still, young, genuinely fit lads. And, we did this last year, didn't we? When we had the Boxing Day, the 28th, New Year's Day and stuff in the Championship, and we got through that all right. So I'm all right with it, to be honest.
Yeah. What about you, Andrew? Are you a little bit worried about the way the squad's been stretched? Because I've got to admit, I am. I think we focused on Broby there, maybe Isidore, but some of these players, the likes of Mukiele, Alderete, Xhaka in particular, have played virtually every minute this season when they've been available. And I'm hoping we're just making sure they're all right and we're looking after them, because we really need these players to stay fit beyond when the AFCON players are back, don't we?
We do, and there's always, I think you always need to be understanding of the fact that when players come back from AFCON, they might not necessarily be ready to be thrown straight back into the starting 11. They might be fatigued or what have you. I do think fatigue in general for the squad is likely to be a concern. As Ant said, there was 3 or 4 players who hit the deck at full time against Man City that put in so much work that they were really, really flawed. I also noticed that Spurs' last couple of games, whilst technically we're away from home, were both in London. So they don't really feel like away games. They've probably still got to go home and spend the night in their own beds. So that might give them ever so slightly a boost. However, we know Bris, we know the coaching staff, they're very pragmatic. They're not going to be forcing the players to do a load of 20-mile hill runs or anything in between games. They'll just be tweaking training, making training just basically being stretching exercises and keeping people ticking over, so that when the games start, they've still got a bit of energy in their legs. And also, we do have 3 or 4 young players in the side who hopefully have are a bit less likely to burn out. So it's an issue, but yeah, Sunderland, I think, can manage it as well as anybody.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I just really am hoping those lads come back from AFCON in decent shape and ready to play. That's the main thing. I mean, anybody who hasn't actually looked at the fixtures, which are coming up over the next couple of days in the Africa Cup of Nations, just to give you a brief rundown. As we peek behind the curtain time, we're recording this before the Senegal game is played, so we don't know how that one goes. But let's presume Senegal are going to beat Sudan, because I mean, I watched Sudan a couple of times over the last week or so, and they're not great. So it's very likely Habib Diarra's team are going to the quarterfinal. Morocco as well, they play Tanzania. Morocco, Chamsin Talbi's team, they're going to go through there, you would imagine. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because on Monday we've got Mozambique, Nigeria, and I think Nigeria probably expected to beat Mozambique, so we could technically have Ronaldo back in time for Brentford. Bear in mind, he could be back in England Tuesday, so he could play on Wednesday if he's all right, if all goes well there. I don't know. We've also got on Tuesday Algeria, DR Congo. I don't know if anybody has watched any of the Africa Cup of Nations, but Algeria probably been the best team in the tournament so far. So it's going to be tough for Noah Siddiqui and Arthur Masuaku in that one. Hopefully they get beat. And our lads get through it unscathed, and that means that we could have Siddiqui and Masuaku back for the for the weekend against Everton. And then also on Tuesday is Ivory Coast against Burkina Faso, which of course is Bertrand Traore's team. So, Ivory Coast probably the favourites in that one against them. Should they go out, again, we would have Bertrand Traore back for the Everton game. So what we're probably talking about here is having these lads missing for the next 2 games. But it is going to stretch the squad. And yes, it's very, very tough. But we've done all right with it so far. And I think it was a good point you made, Ant, about the fact that, Mayenda and Mundell in particular haven't played much. Riggs not played much.
No.
Certainly only played 2 games. So we do have players who can slot in and out. And of course, after the break, we'll talk about team selection and stuff. But yeah, I think this might be an opportunity to rotate in either this game or the game at Brentford. And yeah, we'll discuss that after the break. Just before we do go to the break, Andrew, just want to quickly touch on something which the club pointed out over on the club website with Ballard. However, Ant said it before, Ballard's he could be available for this game, but it's been described as unlikely by SAFC.com. I think, just bearing what I said there as well, we don't really need to push him, do we? It's mad to say that, because we were talking about this before, like, if Ballard's available, who drops out? Isn't that crazy? That we've done so well that, he could potentially be looking at the team and going, where do we put him in? He might not even get a start, but regardless of that, we don't need to push Dan Ballard back, do we? Because we've seen in the past, he has struggled with injuries. He's been so important to us. I don't know if you're in the same line of thinking as me, but let's just give him time if he needs it.
Exactly. We can afford to be ultra cautious with him. There is no point rushing him back and then ending up making things worse. And as you say, it's not as if we're desperate for him back in the team, because the way Alderete and Mukiele played against Man City, neither of them are anywhere near needing to be dropped. I mean, they were both arguably 10 out of 10 performances. In fact, I think in the Roker Report ratings, I think they both got 10 out of 10. So these are 2 lads who are phenomenally talented. They're in the best form possible. You'd be daft to rush Ballard back in that case. I'd much rather have him be 100% and him being brought back into the team because it works tactically, rather than risk upsetting that centre-back pairing at the moment, who were just phenomenal. And yeah, what a nice place to be in, because in the past, you'd be counting down the days for one of your better players to become available again, and we don't need to be putting that extra pressure on people now.
But you have to go back to the Burnley game when we were away, when Ballard was 50-50 for that with a groin injury. It lasted 2 minutes, didn't he? And he was out for 2 months. So yeah, I think just leave him. Just leave him. Mental to say.
Yeah. Right, let's head for a quick break then, and then when we come back, we'll talk about who we think's going to start in this one. We'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Howie the Podcast, sponsored by LiveScoreBet. And as I said before the break there, we're going to chat a little bit about what we think the team will be. And I said this just before there, we are working with a small squad, so it's difficult, isn't it, to make too many changes, but you do have to factor in that we probably played against the toughest team to play against off the ball in Man City in the last game. Lots of running went on. I know we run hard anyways, and it's kind of part of our game to be really intense off the ball. But that's going to take a lot out of us. There's also the fact that Brian Broby went off injured or with a knock. Wilson Isidore, as you mentioned, went off clutching his ribs. I think he's going to be okay though. But it was a physically taxing game. We don't have lots of options in reserve, but we've got another game on Wednesday. So how do you see Reggie Bris approaching this from that perspective? Do you think you'll rotate at all? Because, I mean, the options are limited. We're only talking about probably Mundell, Isidore, Chris Rigg, maybe an outside chance with Luke O'Nien, but I doubt it. So it's not like we've got loads of options to rotate. So what do you think you'll do?
I'll probably be looking at more towards when we played Leeds, where I can just see a Traore going back in the middle for some reason. I don't know why. But I can just see that happening with him going in the middle and then move Trey Young back to right back, which is just a swap of positions, not really a swap of personnel. I can see that happening. The one change I think he'll make is up front. I think if Broby's got a little bit of a muscle strain, keep him fresh, keep him all right for Brentford, and just bring Wilson in, surmising that Wilson's fit. Plus, when you're looking at their centre halves, and it's Mick van der Ven and Romero, isn't it? I think Romero was lucky to stay on the pitch though against Brentford. To be honest, it was his second yellow was absolute blatant yellow card, and he managed to stay on. But I'd like to see Wilson run at them too. Really, shake the legs up a little bit for Broby to come on. So I think, maybe the one change, Wilson for Broby, and it wouldn't shock us if Mundo gets a start ahead of Adingra or Mayenda, but I'll keep Mayenda on. So maybe two in Mundell for Adingra and Wilson for Broby would be my two changes. Just I think Mundell deserves a start as well, doesn't he? I think he's done well when he's came on the last couple of games.
Yeah, I was actually expecting to have seen Mundell start a game before now, Andrew. I don't know about you. And I actually quite like how he's done when he's came on the pitch. I think he gives us a lot in terms of energy and willingness to run at people. He can go either inside or down the line, can't he? But we haven't seen him start a game yet. And as I said, being a physically taxing couple of days, it's going to get even more intense. Do you agree with that? Do you think Mundell might start this one?
I wouldn't be against that idea. I think he's done really well in the minutes he's been given so far. And it might be a minor thing, but he had come through the ranks at Tottenham, so there might be that little extra reason for him to...
I forgot about that, actually. Yeah.
That might just be a little extra reason for him to want to be at his very best. So he could get in. In general, I think that if we are going to make a few changes, he'll probably hold back until the Brentford game, purely because this is a match that I think Bris will be looking at and really thinking we can get 3 points. So he might want to keep things relatively the same as against Man City. But that said, if there are to be changes, Mundell's probably at the top of that list, and he must now have built up enough time to be able to get a good 70, 75 minutes out of.
Yeah. Do you think Elijah Mayenda's done enough to hold his place? I thought he was brilliant against City.
Oh.
There were doubts, obviously, after the couple of games before that about whether Rig was the best choice on the right-hand side. I wasn't against it. I thought Rig did okay. I didn't think he was brilliant, but I thought he was okay. But I thought against City, Mayenda was very good. And he just gave us that extra dimension that we don't get from other players when we're trying to counter-attack. It was really important when trying to get the ball forward that he was the one running and driving at that Manchester City defence. And having spoke to Ricky, the Tottenham fan on the pod yesterday, he was telling us about how they really struggle when teams press them high and run at them. And that was just music to my ears. I was thinking, well, that's exactly what we do. We love that. And Mayenda is built perfect for that style of football. So are you like me? Are you thinking, it's time to give Mayenda a proper run in the team while Traore's not about?
I thought he was outstanding against City. I think you're right. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. His work rate again, and his change of pace was really good as well, wasn't it? He was getting us out of trouble, wasn't he, with little bursts and stuff, winning some good free kicks. I thought that was a really good audition for him, to be a very good winger. Obviously, he's been playing more as a centre forward for us, hasn't he, this season? But he did a fantastic job there. I thought he was really, really good. I can't see him not playing against Spurs. I understand what was said about Rig giving us that bit more balance, but on the right side, with him being the right sided player, I think that's a fair point what Reggie has made. But I think he said Mundell. I thought Mayenda was really, really good. And on another day, he would have got the winner, because that save in the second half was a very good save by Donnarumma. Really, really good save, because he hit it really well. But I just see him, pushing at their fullbacks, because their fullbacks, they like to get forward, don't the Spurs? The fullbacks like to burst forward and, on a counter attack and that, Mayenda running at them. It's a scary thought. And obviously with them being very, low on confidence and them being a bit brittle, it's a perfect opportunity for him. I think he's, like I say, we all love Eliza Mayende, don't we? You know, the fans were. He was the last person off against City. We were all chanting his name and everything like that. He was absolutely phenomenal, and yeah, I can hopefully see the old celebration at the end of the game as well when we beat them tomorrow.
Well, it's the thing, Andrew, is that I still, as much as I really do like Bertrand Traore, I think that this is a position that is still open to debate, the right hand side of this midfield. I'm expecting us to go out and sign someone, if I'm honest. Mm-hmm. But that's the opportunity in front of Mayenda, isn't it? Right, you've got probably the Tottenham and Brentford game, at least, to show why you should be starting when Traore comes back. And give the manager and give the club a real headache when it comes to recruiting. Like, if he goes out and scores a couple of goals and gets man the match in the next 2 games, which he's capable of, he did it last season plenty, then the conversation will change and it'll be about why shouldn't Mayenda start and why should Traore come back in? Do we really need to go and spend 25 million on a right midfielder when we've got this kid already at the club who we know is a good player? The fans have already got that relationship. There's going to be no settling in period. Realistically, Andrew, we could be having this conversation by the weekend. So that's the opportunity that presents itself to Eliza Mayenda, isn't it?
Exactly. I think 9 times out of 10, if you were to ask a Sunderland fan what area of the pitch do you expect Sunderland to strengthen in, people would say right wing. It has been a talking point throughout the season, particularly in the first few weeks of Traore, because it took him a bit of time to bed in.
Yeah.
But the other side of that is that we've always known about AFCON, and we have said time and time again, rather than see it as a negative that we're going to miss players, see it as a positive that some of the other lads in the squad are going to have this brilliant opportunity, and it's up to them to grasp that with both hands and really stake a claim for themselves. And that's where we're at now. Mayenda is, like you say, in that position where he's likely to get some minutes. So it is up to him to show everybody that he's as good, if not better, than these potential targets we're looking at. The start, the first signs are really promising because he was fantastic against Manchester City. So you can only assume that if he keeps that level up, he'll be even more dangerous against the weaker sides. There's been a couple of mentions there about potentially Broby having a thigh strain, although, yeah, that was just a precaution in coming off. Isidore, Ant said, is a bit, looked to have had a bit of an issue with his ribs at full time. That was probably just a stitch. I mean, we all know what it's like. We all know what it's like after Christmas when you've then got to suddenly start doing a bit of work again.
He'd had a big Sunday dinner, hadn't he?
Exactly. But you never know that there might be an issue with those two, and Mayenda is required to move into a more central position. But if not, then yeah, he'll be raring to go. And you said about it's music to our ears about the way Man City set up and the way they play. It's going to be music to Mayenda's ears to be playing against a team who are low on confidence. He'll scare the life out of defenders if he manages to get a bit of speed up and is running at them. You know, they'll not know what to do with him because he can go both ways. He's fast, he's strong. It's all there for the lad to really kick on now and make himself undroppable.
Yeah. Let's presume Broby and Isidore are both fit, and who starts? Because I really thought Broby was brilliant against City. Like, I'm praying he's fit for this one, fit enough to start, because I just think he's got something that nobody else in the team's got when it comes to the way he can just pin defenders in and hold it up and get you up the pitch. And I want to see him and Mayenda get a run of games together. And that's no disrespect to Wilson Isidore, because I love him. I just think the way Broby holds the ball up with Mayenda 5 yards away from him, receiving the ball and running directly at teams who are already running back towards their own goal. I think that's like that's something we haven't seen really yet that could be really potent in the Premier League. And yeah, but at the same time, I think, Mayenda and Isidore have built that relationship up since last season and have had good games together and have got a really good working relationship. So I wouldn't be against that. But if both are fit, who starts for you?
Just for the opposition on who got Van der Ven and Romero, who, Van der Ven's a very, very quick, strong defender, and Romero's one of them, he's a maniac, to be honest. He is. I just fancy Wilson against him. I totally get your point about Broby and Mayenda. You'd love to see that relationship blossom, because there's something there where you've got, the big target man who can bring defenders out, and then the quick, young, energetic winger who can cut off. And it did happen a couple of times against City, right? For me, I'd fancy Wilson against them too. I really do. Just, for a game where I think we're going to be using a counter-attacking option, I think that's probably the way to beat Spurs, is to go at them. I just fancy a bit of pace up there. I'm not saying Broby sucks. He's not. He showed a little bit of pace to roll off Diaz, didn't he, against City when he put himself through. And it would have been a lovely goal had Donovan not been a big lummox and hit the ceiling with his face. But never mind. No, I think the game itself opens up for Isidore to start. But it's a great conversation to have. And who do you want up front now, Broby and Isidore? And it just, for later on in the game, once Wilson's run them ragged, to bring Broby on against a tyrant defence, and we can go at them. I think that makes sense to me. But listen, whoever it is who starts, I'm sure they'll do a fantastic job.
I wouldn't mind seeing that. That is a 100-metre sprint, Van der Ven against Isidore. That'd be a canny race, wouldn't it? Both quick as out. Go on then. So there's me saying Broby, Andrew. Ant reckons Isidore. Settle the debate, mate. Who starts?
I haven't got a clue, Gav.
Just say my end. Just be awkward. Say my end.
Could be Alderete, actually, given he got caught offside against Man City. Get him up there.
We're going to bring somebody in from the under-21s that none of us have expected. I'd just, normally, before doing these preview pods, I'll sketch out a starting 11 and how we think we'll go. And yet, I'm just giving up on that, because every week we'll have the discussions, and then Bris goes and does something that we've maybe not thought of, and it works. So I'm more than happy to leave it up to him and him to come up with a plan. You both make really strong arguments for which player should start. I think we would, for the time being, just stick with Broby. Sorry, Ant. I know you fancy an Isidore to play, and if that happens, there'll be no complaints from me. But just Broby is every week seems to be getting better and growing more and more into the team. He seems to be settling. There's a question mark about his finishing, perhaps. I think the Man City game was slightly unfortunate because it was perhaps from a slightly harder angle than you appreciated live. I think, though, he does the graft that then gives Isidore the chance in the last few minutes to run amok and make hay against tyrant defenders. That's how I see it. But yeah, with Bris, you never can tell. And he might throw in a curveball, and we might end up with two up front. You never know for sure.
You just fully expect the curveballs, though, don't you? Because you've even the other day, the team there was one change in the team, but then Geertruida was basically playing in defence. Hume was playing in midfield. At times you had Alderete up front. At times you had Mukiele as the right centre half playing on the wing. You had Enzo Lefebvre dropping into the middle alongside Xhaka. You had Mayenda going upside Broby in a 2, and then occasionally in the 10 position. Honestly, it's more of a case it doesn't really matter who he picks. The shape is different every game depending on who we play. I'm looking at the Tottenham team who played the last game against Brentford. And yeah, I can see that's a 4-3-3. Whoever starts against us, it's going to be pretty much that shape. You're going to have 2 wide players, 1 up front, 2 holding midfielders, someone just floating around in front, 2 fullbacks, 2 centre halves. Dead basic shape, 99 times out of 100, every team will play that shape. Sunderland, on the other hand, yes, you see the names written down on the paper, but who's going to be playing where is an absolute mystery. Thomas Frank will have watched the highlights of that Man City game and then watched the game before and went, hang on, that's the same player, but he's playing a completely different position. So you just don't know, do you? And that's the beauty of it. I love it, me. Like, it makes it like so interesting. I've in the past, I've been like really critical of managers who play this overly defensive football, and it can be quite dull to watch. Reggie Bris has managed to perfect this way of playing, which is inherently defensive. Yes, we play a pretty defensive style, but it's so interesting to watch. He's made boring football not boring. Does that make sense? Like, I really love it. I see us line up and play like sometimes with 11 men behind the ball, and I love it. I love watching it. So it must be an absolute nightmare for opposition managers trying to figure us out. And yeah, I think we can probably guess the team. It's just where people actually play is the bit that you're not going to be able to work out until the game plays out. So should be fun, that one. Okay, so we'll quickly move on before we head off to predictions then, and I'll start with you. Look, our away form isn't great. Let's be honest. I mean, we were looking at this before. We've only won twice away from home all season. It's all right. We're kind of middling. As long as your home form's really good, which it is, then you can get away with it. Spurs, on the other hand, terrible at home. They're going to want to improve their home record. We're going to want to improve our away record. We've already won in London this season, so there's nothing to fear there. What's your gut saying, mate, about this one? What do you think will happen in the game?
I think we'll win. I think Spurs have got an issue, and I think the issue probably lies in them probably having to get rid of Thomas Frank sooner rather than later. I don't think he's done a bad job. I'm not saying that. I think Spurs are just a troublesome club at the moment, and I don't know what it is. So I'm going to say we'll win 1-0. And if you want a goal scorer, Gav, I'm going to go for Omar directly with a towering header from a set piece.
Nice. We'll take that one. It does feel like it's going to be a game a bit like that, doesn't it, Andrew? I'm thinking a bit like the Forest game earlier in the season away from home, where if we're going to win, it's going to be maybe 1-0, and it will be difficult, but more so because when we went to Forest, you might remember, they weren't in great confidence. So we went there and we were thinking, well, we can win here, but you're not going to see Sunderland go out there and play free-flowing football. We're going to go there and we're going to nick it if we do. But yeah, what do you think?
Yeah, it's. I can't see it being a basketball game where we're going at each other. But you've quite rightly said, whilst we play a defensive style in the main, there is plenty of opportunity there for us to attack when the time is right. So we're not so defensive that we're just every man in the 18-yard box. We've got a really good balance there. Just quickly touching on Thomas Frank and how he's losing the core support, and he's more than likely going to get peddled. I think certainly if we beat him, that is it. That's game over for him. You've also got Chelsea. They've just sacked their manager. Now, in the past, there would have been not a hope in hell of Sunderland's head coach being linked with big clubs like that. I've already seen a couple of people worried that Bris might go to Chelsea. It's nice that our coaching staff are that well thought of, but it's even nicer to think, well, no, you wouldn't want to go to Chelsea or Spurs at the moment because Sunderland are a much more settled proposition and everything's clued up and going in the right direction, whereas those clubs can often be basket cases. So I think that will play into the atmosphere against Spurs, that there's these question marks over Thomas Frank. I see us winning at 2-0. I think we'll be, as long as fatigue doesn't hit us too hard, I think we'll have enough to win the game without us even needing to panic in the last few minutes. So yeah, 2-0 for me.
2-0. Ooh.
Aye.
You know, we haven't scored much recently, so would you a 2-0 or something, aren't we? Let's go on then. I'll be optimistic, Andrew. I'll agree with you. We'll go 2-0. Another clean sheet. 1 goal in each half. We're gonna stun them into silence. I'm looking forward to this one. I really am. There's something about the games at the minute where the fearlessness that we've got is a real strength when you're coming up against clubs. Tottenham Hotspur have just won a European trophy. We're going away from home to Tottenham, and I think we can beat them and keep a clean sheet. And it's just that confidence that the team have given us. And, if we don't get a win, if we have an off day and Tottenham win, then it is what it is. You can't be disappointed with the position we're in and the points we picked up recently. So I'm kind of relaxed about this one, actually. I'm thinking I actually think we've got a better chance in this game than we do at Brentford, because I think Brentford have got that little bit more confidence. It's probably a good time to play Spurs. They're missing a really important player in Xavi Simons, who's brought in the summer for big money. He's not exactly set the world alight, but he is their big creative spark in that team. He's missing. And you've got to take advantage of these things. Like, they'll be looking at us in the same breath and going, they're missing so many players because of Africa Cup of Nations. The Man City game was taxing on them. We've got to take advantage of Sunderland. So, look, let's look at this as an opportunity. Go there, take it to them. As long as we work hard, we can't be disappointed. If we come away and we've got beaten, we've grafted, and we go, fair enough, that it is what it is. The better team beat us. That'll be all right. We can't have what happened at Fulham, where we come away and go, actually, we were off it today. Let's just hope it's not an off day. It's a positive one for Sunderland, and I'm really looking forward to this one. So, yes, make sure you check in with us over on rotereport.sbnation.com today. We've got all the written previews on the website, the score predictions, the starting 11 predictions, Chris's match preview. After the game, we'll have Andy's player ratings. We've also got tomorrow all the analysis from after the game, the musings and talking points pieces, and 2 up, 2 down. So loads to read over on the website. We'll be back with a reaction pod. I think who's on that one? Who's on the reaction pod after the game? Go on, someone remind us. I think you are, aren't you, Andrew? You're on with Chris and Johnny. I believe so.
That's the plan. And yeah, famous last words, but I think we'll be in good spirits on that one. So. Hopefully.
Yeah, hope so. And then tomorrow, the in-depth. I went a bit South African there. Analysis will be with me and our very special guest, Danny Collins. So I'm looking forward to that one as well. Hopefully, we're talking to him and picking his brains about another amazing defensive performance. I like to do that when we get Danny on. Pick his brains on what he thinks about how we defended, because obviously nobody better to talk about that than him. So make sure you catch up with us then. Thank you everyone who's listened this week. We have not dropped our schedule over Christmas and New Year. You still got a pod every single day. There is loads to catch up on if you missed it over Christmas. I would point you in the direction of our large rotund quiz of the year, which went out over Christmas and Boxing Day. Andrew's shaking his head because he had an absolute stinker, but it was great, wasn't it, Andrew? I think the feedback on that's been amazing because, your hosting ability was legendary, mate. Well, I'm actually looking forward to next year's already. Can't wait. So if people have missed that, let's make sure you stick that on. That'll keep you interested for a few hours. And are you over that one yet, Andrew?
I'm not. And I'm already making plans to be away this coming Christmas, so that I don't have to be on that pod. Because you might have thought it was legendary. I just thought it was an absolute shambles. But
well, that's
probably, yeah, exactly, yeah, a shambles that other people can enjoy and just laugh at me.
I think Jeremy Clarkson needs to be worried about his Who Wants to Be a Millionaire seat, because I thought you were superb, Andrew. Honestly, yeah. I thought it was absolutely hilarious.
and mate, you're a good lad. I needed that little boost. Thank you. But no, there's been no phone call from the producers of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire just yet.
So yes, get caught up on anything that you've missed. Obviously, we had all the fallout from the City game as well, so plenty to catch up on. Just even to say thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate your time as always.
Much. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you to the listeners. Thank you very much for joining us. As I say, make sure you catch back up with us after the game. There's plenty to come. We'll see you then.